Welcome to Pause for Peace with me, Pastor Jule, and happy Advent. We're releasing this podcast to you on the first Sunday of Advent 2025, which happens to fall on November 30th, Thanksgiving weekend. I hope you had an incredible celebration and are all set for this beautiful season of Advent. As we're moving into this time when the church seeks to begin the story again, to be about waiting for the promises of God to be fulfilled, to be anticipating the amazing act that God will do that we celebrate, that happens with the birth of Jesus on Christmas. And as we are preparing a space within and literally in our homes and in our relationships to celebrate in great joy the way that God comes to live in flesh. That means the Spirit of God is alive in every one of us, all living things. And Jesus' life shows us actually how we can pattern our lives after Him, how we too can seek to reverence the gift of life in all, and how we can seek to honor this amazing Spirit of God that lives within all of us and are able to move about the world in ways that reflect this incredible favor of God. These are the promises we hear from the prophets throughout the season of Advent, so get yourself ready. Open your heart, be ready to hear. And I know in our culture, this is a week where everybody is encouraging us to focus on giving. It kind of is a little funny to me that this Giving Tuesday even came about because so many churches across the Christian household have, as a part of the season leading up to Advent, kind of the end of the liturgical year, a time to commit financially for the year ahead. So here we have, all in the world, this emphasis on giving. And while Hillwood Presbyterian Church USA has never really launched a huge giving campaign for Giving Tuesday, I want to invite us to consider a way that we might actually look upon the bounty of our own lives and see what we might have to share. That we actually could do through a ministry that has long been a part of Hillwood Presbyterian Church, but is getting a little facelift as we are moving into this season of Advent. So let me tell you a little story to go with our Pause for Peace today. Way back in February 2023, we had been long-term partners with H.G. Hill Middle School, and our school coordinator contacted me, our Community Achieves coordinator. At the time, that was Maggie Dix. Now it's Kara Ellis, and we still love to work with H.G. Hill Middle School. But in 2023, early in the year, we were still kind of coming out of those early days of COVID, and there were all sorts of ways that schools were really working hard, especially schools like those involved in the Hill cluster of schools here in Nashville, because of what had happened, not just during COVID, but 2 weeks before all of Middle Tennessee was shut down. The Nashville area, Middle Tennessee, experienced horrific tornadoes, property destructing, life-ending tornadoes. And the unfortunate thing is that those tornadoes in early March of 2020 made their way through portions of Nashville where many of the children who are part of the Hill cluster of schools actually live. Elementary school students, middle school students, high school students in this area, especially close to TSU in Nashville, Tennessee. And schools were doing all they could to respond to the destruction of the families literally having homes destroyed in those tornadoes. And then, literally 10 days later, schools being shut down for COVID. And schools were still in these times of how to respond, especially to the deepest need of the students in their schools, which of course are the students who were most impacted by the tornado and whose parents had jobs in the service industry that had been closed down during COVID. The amazing skills and ability of our Community Achieve partners is that they find a way. And Maggie Dix had secured for H.G. Hill Middle School a rather large grant to feed their children, especially the children in a particular area of Nashville who were having specific needs around their food insecurity. Maggie was talking to me about all that was going on and just shared with me like, man, Pastor Jule, like it's been great the way churches have helped financially through these difficult years, through the summers. We've had local communities really step up and help with feeding our families, and we still are able to order food through Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee, but we don't have anywhere to put it. We have nowhere to put the food, and we do not have a consistent stream of volunteers to be about this work of getting this food that we actually have the ability to purchase, said Maggie Dix of H.G. Hill Middle School, to the families that we know need it. And being that we're partners with H.G. Hill Middle School, I said, Maggie, that's a no-brainer. Hillwood Presbyterian Church at the time had many rooms upstairs that sat vacant all week. This is not necessarily faithful stewardship, I understand. But Hillwood was in this time of renewing, had been so since 2017, and was seeking ways to use this property, the space of Hillwood Presbyterian Church, USA, in a way that was faithful to the needs not just of the church members, but of the wider community. This seemed like 1 + 1 = 2. No brainer, of course, Maggie, Hillwood Presbyterian Church can find a way to help. And so at the time was born the Hill Pantry Annex. Hillwood Presbyterian Church kind of cleared space in what was the choir room at the time and started having H.G. Hill send us food through Second Harvest. Now this is not the way Second Harvest and school partners typically work. It was allowed in this situation, this like unique situation. And the years went by and Hillwood Presbyterian Church USA members, friends, community partners stepped forward weekly to start delivering food bags to a particular community that we know is primarily those who are families participating in H.G. Hill, in Charlotte Park Elementary, in Lawson High School now at the time, and the Hill cluster of schools. The commitment was so deep that when situations changed with the school and when the grant came to an end, that the school had our church members, Hillwood Presbyterian Church leaders and members, said, this cannot end, Pastor Jule. We have been weekly being in that neighborhood, providing this needed food to those who are living in a way that they cannot get enough food for their families. So we've done the hard work. It's been a long year of doing things like writing grants, soliciting volunteers to help us with the whole process of securing some funds and also applying ourselves to become partners with Second Harvest Food Pantry of Middle Tennessee. It's been a lengthy process. It took about a year and 5 or 6 months. And Hillwood Presbyterian Church USA, all the while, was still finding ways to feed that neighborhood, even if we weren't able to do it in as large a capacity or as regularly, like every week, like we have been doing for about 2.5 years. We still found a way to carry on, to be a presence in that neighborhood, and to be a people that showed the compassion of God, that embodied this love that God has for the Spirit of God living in all things, that we found a way to continue to provide food. Now, I'm not bragging on myself in this. I am bragging on and like lifting up the work that can be done. I hear from so many people how discouraged they are today about what's going on in our nation, in our world. And I do my best and encourage others to do their best to focus on what you can do. Focus on the way you can give of yourself. You can give of even $5 to make a difference, especially locally. When I was at Vanderbilt Divinity School, Sally McFagg at the time, an amazing theologian who was teaching our contemporary Christian theologian class, through which we had to write our theological statement. Sally reminded us, Dr. McFagg reminded us, that God does not ask you to fix the whole world, but God puts you, this is what she's telling us, God puts us in a particular place, in a particular situation, so that if we were to draw a circle around ourselves, we would know the work that is ours to do. And I encourage you to find ways to draw that circle around yourself. I'm not saying ignore the rest of the needs of the world. Anything that comes into that circle, which might just be it comes into your heart, I would invite you to think of being your invitation for God to be about the work that is yours to do as somebody committed to the way of love, as somebody committed to being a beacon of light in a world that seems to be filled with so much despair. Throughout the season of Advent, we light candles, one each week. So we're with our first candle this week, and the days are growing darker. There's a reason Advent is liturgically put where it is, because this is a season when we are looking forward to the expansion of light, to the birth of Christ, which we believe is the light of the world, who then teaches us all that you too are to go to be the light of the world, because the Spirit of God is in you as well. So go to shine brightly, even in the most despairing days. So this circle of candles, purple candles that we use, there's 4 of them because there's 4 weeks of Advent. So we're on week 1. We just have a little bit of light shining in the darkness right now. And the candles surround a white candle, one single white candle, representing that light of Christ that also reminds us of the light of God that is within all of us. Giving Tuesday, or this week of giving, is an opportunity for each of us to consider the circle that is our responsibility, that God has put us. If we truly believe that our lives matter, to realize that God has put us in the places and situations God has put us, that we can make a local, very local community impact. And whether or not it feels like enough, when you lay your head down at night, I hope in this attitude of approaching life today, especially in our challenging times, I hope that this will be an invitation for you to understand that you have sought your best on that day to be faithful to the circle God has put us in for this time and the people whose lives can be significantly impacted when you give even a little bit. Our invite to anybody listening, and if you want to like and share this podcast, we'd appreciate it greatly. Our invitation is for you to consider giving either a little bit of your time or a little bit of your talents to the Hillwood Food Pantry. That's the pantry that now is housed not anymore down the hall in our choir room, but in a room that we have committed to be the food pantry, from which Hillwood feeds the same neighborhood we've been feeding for the last several years. The Hillwood Food Pantry has received the blessing of 5 refrigerators thanks to Whirlpool and partnerships with Second Harvest. We have officially placed our sign from Second Harvest that we are official partners of Second Harvest Food Bank, which means that we are able to have access to donated food, but also to food that is able to be purchased at a much lower cost. So I'm wondering if you might consider giving a donation to the Hillwood Food Pantry. You might see it on our stuff still saying the Hill Pantry Annex. We're in the process of changing our name to more clearly reflect that this is the Hillwood Food Pantry. This is a ministry being done out of the blood, sweat, and tears of Hillwood Presbyterian Church members and friends. And while we still do that in partnership with our school, it's happening in a bit different way. So feel free to go back to our website, www.hillwoodpc.org/giving, and you'll be able to find a line item that you can give a donation right on our website, or from our website in our giving portal. You can give a donation. It's called Food Mission Ministry Second Harvest, or it might also still say Super Bowl of Caring. This all is part of how we ask for folks to support the food mission ministry that happens through Hillwood. I also want us to take a moment this giving week to just check in with ourselves and to listen for the ways that we might be able to give and be faithful in the circle in which God has placed us. So if you will, take just a few moments with me, close your eyes, get your feet flat on the earth. You might even wiggle them where they are, and then finally let them come to rest underneath you. Know that the energy of your feet is connected down into the energy of the earth. This is just one way that we're all connected, because we all live on this earth, on this land where so much has taken place. So much that has been harmful, but so much that has been for good, and that has been a beautiful reflection of the love of God and the light of Christ shining through the people of God all around the globe. If you'll take a deep breath with me from your belly. I know we're moving into what can be, you can release it. We're moving into what can be an incredibly busy season for so many people. Take another deep breath, please, from your belly. Hold it for a moment, and then release. This is a season when it is so easy to get pulled off center. It's easy to live in a way that you're flittering about, not staying grounded. And your breath, one more deep breath. Let's do that again to get together today. Your breath brings you back to center. It regrounds you in the earth. And if it might take 10 deep breaths to get you back to center, regrounded in the earth, then make sure you do that each and every day, especially when your system's starting to feel anything but centered and grounded. Take another breath with me, please. The breath in, we hold, say like we hold it for 5. Let's see if we can do that now. Breathe in for 5. Hold it. And then release for 8. Let's do that one more time. Breathe in for 5. You can count it in your own mind. Hold it for 5. Release for 8. Settle in. Maybe even noting how this 5-8 breathing is able to settle you down. If you need more 5-8 breathing to settle you down, you can continue that. And I would love you to just imagine your heart space awakening, maybe even seeing a brilliant white, yellowish white light shining in it and then emanating through it. You can use your hands to follow this light you are seeing in your mind's eye. see this light expanding. And I want you to use your arms to go all the way out and imagine that this is the light. If you circle your arms around you, this is the light that goes forth from the center of your chest, from your heart. And this is the circle that is your responsibility to be making a difference, to be embodying love in this circle wherever your circle moves every day. So with this light emanating forth from our heart space, let's just spend a moment or two listening for the ways that we can be about faithful giving of ourselves, our time, our talents, even our financial treasures. So that for just a moment we can hear within how God might want to be using us for good this week. Amen, 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 amen. When you're ready, you can open your eyes and hopefully come forth from these moments of pausing, having a little bit of peace within, and also getting a little more clarity about, like, what can I do in my local circle? How can I give of who I am and all that has been given to me, that I can reflect this desire to be faithful and this light of Christ shining through me, through my decisions, through my actions, through my words, all throughout the week. Consider having some of those time, talents, treasures coming to the food ministry that is about weekly dissemination of food to families living literally 2 miles from the building of Hillwood Presbyterian Church, who live in ways that require the help of food from sources like people like us who are able to give a little bit. One way we might even do that this week is we might actually consider what's called like sacrificial giving. And so what that means is like a simple thing. Like I may think like I don't have any money and that like I like hardly can make it through the month. Maybe this could be a week where I say to myself, okay, instead of buying that one more coffee at my favorite coffee shop, I will make some coffee at home or drink some water, and I will instead use that 5, 7, 8, however many dollars it is for you for your fabulous coffee each day. This week, I will use that money instead to make a local difference by clicking give on Hillwood Presbyterian Church's website and make a difference. You know, $8 through Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee allows us to get like a whole box of frozen assorted food. Like your little bits transfer into like a huge amount of food that we are able to get thanks to this partnership that we have with Second Harvest. So like giving up one coffee this week, giving up one more glass of wine or one more cocktail wherever you find yourself this week, one more stop for, fast food, giving that up this week can make a huge difference to a family who will not have enough food when their children are not in school throughout the holidays, not just once like they were for Thanksgiving week, but for 2 weeks ahead when it comes time for the winter break. So these are little things that we can do that make a significant difference. And maybe if we do it once this week, we can find a way to do it once again the following week. And though we feel like we never have enough, we might actually find that we have more than we need, and we might actually find a new way to enjoy a beverage or a way of getting ourselves a snack or a meal throughout the week that will actually be a way that we are faithful in our circle. Blessings for this first week of Advent. Blessings for this giving season, this Giving Tuesday week, and blessings for the ways you seek to be faithful for what you have heard in the quiet through your heart as you give of yourself each day. Thanks so much, and see you next time on Pause for Peace.